This past week I stained and put a layer of a couple coats of shellac on my frame. Now we have a nice fit with the bearings. Probably even too tight on some of these. So, but you know, that's fine. This one, I just put a little shellac on the edge just to hold it in place. I have to do a little sanding on the ends now because it's a little tight for the assembly. If I put it all together, I probably won't get it back apart, and I want to. Here's the spacing I'm going to go with. I have it all laid out, starting with about a 1/16 of an inch on either side of the frame to the first gear. The spacing is going to be done with various brass tubes. On the larger gear, that's going to be at the bottom. You see in this assembly, well, it's not really the bottom anymore because I had to rotate the whole design, but there's going to be a ratchet mechanism that I haven't designed yet right here. Also, I have 2 more gears to make that I had to add to the whole design just to get proper clearance for the generator so it could go on here without being in the way. Alright, let's go through a quick assembly here. I have, you know, the rods, a lot of spacers cut out using small brass spacers to provide the separation from the base layer here. We're going to start with the fastest turning wheel that goes on the end. Actually, we're not going to start with that one. Let's see, how did this go again? We will start with this one right here in the middle. Goes there. And this one, which will in the end drive the gear that goes, just get the spacer on there. This one will end up driving the gear that will end up being on the generator. We have this guy here. Spacers are getting longer. What I tried to do is center the gears with one another and stagger the sizes so that they won't, you know, ever rub. So I got that. It's my hope really that I can get at least 2 minutes run time, which I know isn't much, but it's not really so much about making the light light in a practical manner. Obviously this isn't a practical way of making light. Got that. And let's get the top on. This is a little tricky part. Battery's almost dead, so I'm going to have to charge that. I guess I should have known. There we have it. Move it here. See the assembly from that side. Alright, starting work on the ratchet mechanism for winding the string or rope or whatever I'm going to power this with. Basically it's going to have these will be attached to the gear and they will ratchet into these positions, so you can there'll be 2 strings on it. One you pull to wind it, and one that drives it. Or at least that's the idea anyway. The layout of the ratchet mechanism will be something like this. This will be free moving on the shaft with a winding post on it. And these will be pegged onto the wheel, the gear here. So I have to add a couple holes in the gear. Of course, since I didn't design this prior to making the gear, I'm going to have to drill them now after the fact. But exacting precision isn't as important for the ratchet piece. I can sand and adjust the tabs. So yeah, I just cut off one of my 1/8 rods here. Let's put that in. This one's nice just below. Like that. The size of the length of my rod, I'm just kind of pushing it through right in one of the corners here, and I'm going to tape it off right at that length. I can use that as a good gauge to cut off the rod, and I'm going to cut it off just below the tape because I want it to be just below the surface of the ratchet here. Well, I'm working on the ratchet. My initial plan was to put a small hole in that part there. Right here so you can see better maybe. And then it would sit on here, like so. And I would just put a screw in here somewhere, and I would just flip it back into place as needed. And each one would have a spring. The problem with that, of course, is the overlap here. This will be actually facing the other way, and there isn't room for there isn't space for that spring to go like that. So I need to come up with a different solution. The next thing I was thinking about is using a compression type spring and have it, well, have it so it would be on just pressing from the outside, something like this. Oh well, that's backwards. But there's some space limitations with that too. Plus I'd end up having a big ring that I was going to put on. So I'm going to try and come up with another solution where it's just maybe kind of a spring tab that presses against. Maybe even a piece of wood. We'll see. After a bit of experimentation, I came up with this. Much simpler, much less complicated, requiring much less of a structure. Basically, I took one of my springs, bent it straight, and then bent it into this shape. That should work nicely for my ratcheting mechanism. I just have to manage to reproduce the same structure 2 more times. Let's see if I can. It's not even all that easy to get off. The spring really ends up being nothing more than this. This kind of hooks under the side of the wood. This hooks into the little ratcheting tab. The way I'm making the spring, I really just took one of my springs and I'm straightening it out with some pliers. Trying not to kink it too much. I'm on my 3rd one here. I made 2 already. And I'm wrapping it around a nail tight. I mean, the spring, it's a little springy, so a little bit of effort, you can get it wound tight. Trying to get it. Let's see. Top one kind of comes out and has a right angle to it, so we're going to just put the bend in it. Alright. So here's the ratchet in action. It'll always snap back into place. Obviously there's going to be a cylinder on here, string wrapped around it, tied to a weight. So we'll wind it with one pulley string. Spin it this way. Ratchets will lock in place and spin the whole wheel to release the energy. Continuing work on my winding mechanism for the ratchet. Made this disc here, glued it on, tapered the edge on the sander a little bit. This is going to go in here. I got it notched from both sides, so that'll go in there like that. Then we'll have this on the end. I'll glue up. That would be my winder. I have the assembled winder here. It's all glued up. I did a little shellac on this side. Kept this side clean. I want that to be as slippery as possible. I also made just a plastic washer, so to speak. Just cut a thin piece of plastic in a circle. You can kind of see that there. So that when we put her in here, it slides very freely. I do have to get that. Then, because I don't need much spacing on the back, I'm just going to use this washer. That's a good fit. And the center of the bearing sticks out a little bit, so the washer won't rub on the rest of anything. So that'll just go in here like this. So next, in my next video, I'm going to work on the top spacers, mounting it on the wall, and then I need to start working on finishing up the generator that I did quite a bit of testing with, but now I have to kind of finalize its configuration, secure everything in place, adjust the length and stuff. But thanks for watching, and hope you come back to finish the series.